Lost Girl Therapy. Here's what I do to calm myself down after disorganized attachment gets triggered. So the other day I found myself in the unique situation of having my attachment style get triggered after a very long time of it not happening. And it was kind of this weird experience where you notice it happening and you're definitely aware of it, but at the same time you're like, what do I do? And in the past, I probably would have just let it ride. I would have said, all right, we're going to fluctuate between the anxious and the avoidant, but this time around, I was like, you actually need to address this. And one of those reasons is because when you have the tools to address disorganized attachment, it suddenly becomes a lot more understandable and logical in the sense of you being able to work your way out of it. When we don't have knowledge, when we don't have the tools available to us, disorganized attachment feels like you're in a tornado. It can feel like you are just in this whirlwind of emotion that never quite comes back into groundedness. And that can be really disorienting. So one of the things that I found myself doing is really kind of riding out the waves without integrating the other person into the dynamic. And what I mean by that is when I was on the anxious side of the presentation, really like sitting down and journaling and taking everything in me out of me. And the reason that that's helpful is because anxious thoughts, as they ruminate within our minds, if we don't release them, they don't typically come back down into a state of calm in a efficient and timely manner. So one of the things about journaling is that you can sit and you can get everything out. And in the process of journaling, you might find that your nervous system is in fact calming down. You can recognize, okay, here is where I feel hurt. Here is where I feel clinginess. Here is where I feel like I want to just jump out of my skin, where I want to share everything with this person. And after the journaling, I honestly felt exhausted because it felt like my body had run through this marathon of anxious presentation. And then I noticed myself sliding into the avoidant side. And avoidant, as you've seen in my previous videos, when it gets triggered, it can really oscillate between anger and apathy. It's really that space of being like, I am mad, I am indignant, I want nothing to do with you, but then also, I don't want to have this conversation. So in that space, what I like to do is essentially just walk it off. Walking for me is a really beautiful practice of meditative resolve. It allows my mind to work through things that I probably would not be able to work through if I had written it down or if I had talked to someone about it. And I have found that with disorganized, talking about it doesn't necessarily always work, because if you are talking to someone, they might actually be exacerbating the anxious and the avoidant sides of the equation. So the meditative practice of walking or sitting quietly or being with yourself and just allowing your body to kind of oscillate between that anger and that apathy can be incredibly helpful. It can help us just move into that state of saying, you know what, I can hold space for all things. I can hold space for being angry and apathetic and anxious at the same time. And as you give yourself what you need without the integration of a partner, without the integration of the person who caused the trigger, or if you triggered yourself, the person on the other side of the dynamic, what you're going to notice is that eventually you're going to form a narrative that allows you to express yourself. And one of the things that I like to do here is either make a voice note or just jot it down, the key points of where and what I'm feeling, where I'm at emotionally. And I find that this can be really helpful. So when I am ready, or when the person that I'm in conflict with is ready to have a discussion, I can then bring this list forward as a reference point for myself to say, here's what I was feeling. And this is really important because when you have disorganized attachment, if you then go to talk to your partner about resolving it, you might feel like you don't have solid ground or that you've lost the mental clarity. And that's mainly because your body is having a physical, visceral response when you're in their presence. So writing things down before you go into a conversation can be incredibly helpful and allow you to maintain a sense of clarity over your emotions and allow you to then listen to what your partner is also presenting in the dynamic.